This video looks into one of South Africa's most audacious financial crimes, the 178 million rands fraud orchestrated by the Singh siblings against Investec. Now the Singhs worked hand in hand with corrupt government officials in Ghana, securing over R1 billion in state contracts for road construction and hospital projects. But the deals were a fraud. They used the contracts to secure loans with nearly R500 million from Investec, not to build infrastructure, but to fund a life of unimaginable luxury. From rare McLaren supercars to opulent properties in elite suburbs, now the Singh siblings lived like royalty, until the lies began to unravel. Now when they defaulted on the loans, red flags were raised. That's when the truth surfaced that the contracts were fraudulent, the guarantees were forged, and the money was long gone. Now the Master of the High Court appointed liquidators to track and recover the stolen assets. But just as they were closing in, after securing several properties linked to the Singh siblings, the unthinkable happened. James Murray and his son Thomas, the court-appointed liquidators, were taken out in a targeted hit on the N1 highway near the new road off-ramp. It's now suspected that the attack may be linked to Rushil Singh himself. Now in this video, we'll look into the events that led to the fraud, from the fraudulent deals in Ghana to the forged bank letters, the stolen millions, the luxury lifestyle, and the cold-blooded murders that stunned the nation. The story begins with BIG, Big Innovations Group, a prominent accounting and auditing firm with a long history of working with various government departments. Behind the polished image of spreadsheets and boardroom meetings, a darker plot was unfolding. Now through BIG, the Singh siblings also owned a Ghana-based company called GIC, Ghana Investments Company. Now at first glance, it looked like a savvy expansion, but beneath the surface, GIC was a gateway to a massive, meticulously orchestrated scheme. The Singh siblings had cultivated close relationships with key Ghanaian politicians, officials who held sway over procurement and contract approvals. Now to grease the wheels, the siblings paid over 90 million rands in bribes in return for government contracts valued at over R1 billion. This was covering road construction, stormwater drainage systems, and even building of hospitals. Now on paper, it looked like nation building, but in reality, it was the perfect cover for a high-stakes con. Now with these contracts in hand, the Singh siblings began leveraging them to secure massive loans. Their first major score was around 350 million rands loan, allegedly to fund the public works they were contracted for. But it didn't stop there. In 2021, driven by greed or deception, they sought another 20 million rands from Investec for GIC. Now to sweeten the deal, Nishani Singh submitted a letter, supposedly from a bank GIC uses in Ghana, Investec Bank, claiming it guaranteed the loan. There was a clause in the letter that said the guarantee only kicked in once the funds were actually deposited into GIC's accounts, a clause that made Investec uneasy. Not one to be deterred, Nishani rewrote the letter, omitting the critical clause, and sent the altered version back to Investec. And the truth was, there was never a real guarantee. The letter was forged. Investec Bank had nothing to do with it. It was all part of the Singh siblings' carefully crafted illusion. Investec bought into the lie. Now after getting it right again, their confidence grew. The siblings returned for an even bigger haul, for a 150 million rands loan. But this time, they used BIG to front the request. Now to secure the loan, they falsified financial statements, making it appear as if the firm was thriving, when in fact it was bleeding cash. Now for a while, everything seemed to be going their way, but the lies have a shelf life. So eventually the cracks appeared. Investec discovered the deception. Too late to stop the initial payouts, but just in time to unravel one of the most audacious financial scams they've ever encountered. The Singh siblings launched GIC in Ghana around 2016, laying the groundwork for what would become a bold financial deception. For years, they kept the illusion alive, heavily borrowing from Investec Bank and securing millions under the pretense of legitimate infrastructure work. By 2021, the money was still flowing, but in 2022, in the wake of the COVID-19 lockdowns, the house of cards began to crumble. Now the siblings started defaulting on their loans. When Investec couldn't recover the funds, they turned to what they believed was their safety net, the loan guarantees, supposedly backed by Investec Bank in Ghana. But when they contacted Investec to collect, they were met with confusion. Investec denied any knowledge of such guarantees. That's when the truth hit, that Investec had been scammed. While the financial facade was crumbling, the Singh siblings were living like royalty. Investigators uncovered a trail of luxury and excess. Expensive holidays, designer clothes, jewelry, and multi-million rand mansions in South Africa's most exclusive suburbs. One of their boldest splurges, the total demolition and rebuild of their family home, an over-the-top mansion projected to be worth over 100 million rands upon completion. But the most jaw-dropping expenditure was their car collection. Over 120 million rands was spent on ultra-luxury vehicles. Among them were 3 rare McLarens, each valued at least 25 million rands each, and a Porsche from the Bad Boys movie. I think it's valued at $1.5 million. Now, investigators traced some of the purchases directly to the funds dispersed by Investec. Now, Rushil Singh even flaunted the cars on social media, unknowingly leaving breadcrumbs for authorities. But now, with police closing in, the McLarens and the Porsche have vanished, likely smuggled out of the country. Now, investigators suspect the cars are now hidden somewhere in the US, far from the courtroom drama building back home. The Murray father and son duo had built a reputation that struck fear into the hearts of the rich and corrupt. Appointed by the master of the high court, their task was clear: liquidate everything tied to the Singh siblings and recover as much of the stolen money as possible. From the luxury cars to hidden offshore accounts, designer jewelry and multi-million rand properties, nothing was off limits. If it had value, they would find it, seize it, and sell it at an auction. Murray, the father, was a legend in the liquidation circles, a no-nonsense bulldog with a history of dismantling empires of corrupt politicians and shady business moguls. He had no friends in high places, only enemies, powerful and well-connected enemies. Now, because Murray was the man who didn't blink, didn't bend, and never made deals under the table, if you flaunted wealth on Instagram that wasn't yours, he would find it, seize it, and sell it. According to reports, the Murrays were closing in. The noose was tightening around the Singh siblings. Reports suggested that the Murrays were days away from recovering a large portion of the hidden assets, cars, cash, and properties that would blow the case wide open. Then came the day everything changed. That morning, his son Thomas Murray set out to finalize the liquidation of 3 high-value properties linked to the Singhs, 2 in Pretoria and 1 in Melrose Arch. It was meant to be routine. Meet the siblings, inspect the assets, sign off with the auctioneer. But as they pulled away from the final property in Melrose Arch and meshed into the N1 highway, something unthinkable happened. A vehicle pulled up beside them, and in a sudden burst of violence, 18 shots were fired into their car. It was a precision hit. James Murray was struck 6 times. Thomas took the brunt of the attack. He was taken out at the scene. James clung to life but succumbed to his injuries the following day in hospital. The hit sent shockwaves through the legal and financial cycles. This wasn't just an attack, it was a message. Someone wanted the investigation buried. Someone with millions to lose and no intentions of watching their empire fall. As private investigators dug deeper, they uncovered a chilling piece of evidence: CCTV footage from Melrose Arch that could blow the case wide open. The footage shows James Murray driving into the area in his Toyota Prado, trailed closely by a Ford Ranger with no number plates. Suspicious but not unusual, until what happened next. When Murray and his son left Melrose, the same unmarked Ford Ranger followed them. Moments later, their car was shot up. Now, investigators believe the shots that took out the Murrays came directly from that Ford Ranger. Now, the most explosive detail: the driver of the Ranger is clearly visible on the footage and his name is out there. Now, according to reports, the man co-owns a luxury panel beating shop, one that specializes in supercars, and Rushil Singh had reportedly sent one of his regular McLarens to that very shop for repairs following an accident. And yet, despite the damning footage and the clear connection, the driver has never been questioned. Now, behind closed doors, whispers of corruption and collusion are growing louder. It's becoming clear that someone is pulling strings. Law enforcement agencies could be compromised, with money changing hands to bury the investigation. Evidence is being suppressed and leads are going cold on purpose. Now, in 2024, Nishani Singh made a rare court appearance, frail and confined to a wheelchair. Her once commanding presence was gone. She was visibly deteriorating, reportedly battling TB, and it was clear her days were numbered. Not long after, she died in custody from complications related to TB. Now only Rushil Singh remains to face the music. With his sister gone, Rushil has taken the stand, but instead of accepting responsibility, he's pointing fingers at the dead. According to him, Nishani was the mastermind, the architect behind the lies, forgeries, and fraudulent guarantees that scammed Investec of all that money. He has pleaded not guilty to charges of fraud, forgery, altering, and falsifying financial documents.